Hello, everyone, and welcome to AHA, a human amongst humans. A human amongst humans, AHA. My name is John J.W. Oxenford, and I'm here, your happy, humble host, to talk stuff about wisdom things that I think are smart. So, let's talk. Today has been a good day, very relaxed day. I let myself relax today because I decided to focus on self care instead of stressing out too much. And I think stress has a place. You know, you got a job, stressed out to get there, do your job and get paid. You go to school, you go to, do your homework, get good grades, attendance. So stress is there, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not something that I want, but it is certainly something that gets me doing things, getting things done while doing them to get them done until they're done. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I believe are the definition and contradictions and comparisons with good, neutral, and evil. So let's just go straight to that. Good and evil. I've spent probably more than 5 years of my life writing down lawful good. It's sort of more complicated self definition of things with cards and board games and stuff, but part of it was lawful good. I wanted to be the best person I could be, the best in terms of kindness, in terms of compassion, in terms of good intent. And through that process, I have noticed that I'm focusing more on good things. I'm responding more to good things. My life has been going very well, so maybe that's a part of it. But at the same time, I don't think evil is a thing to battle or forget. I don't think evil is necessarily an evil thing to have. You just need to be able to know how to communicate with it. You know, it's there for another reason. I wrote down here, good is the enjoyment in life, in peace and harmony, for all to fit together and enjoy each other's company. While evil is a more rebellious, chaotic thing, breaker of rules. There's an artist that I listen to says, would you rather be good at small increments for the rest of your life or be king for a day? Just, go all out and enjoy the day, more than anybody else has, but next day be shriveled up for the rest of your life, and so I think there is a place for evil. If we can kind of take that king for a day concept and just integrate it into that good side, that kind side, that's compassionate side, maybe we can give evil a place to feel comfortable where we are so bad things don't happen because of it. I think sometimes if we feel like we need to battle evil all the time or we always need to struggle against it, maybe there is a positive element for evil to be in our lives. For me, I'll just say for me, I see it as something where, okay, maybe I'll decide to do my homework tomorrow kind of evil, My good side would be like, oh, we got to get this done, get a good grade, finish this up real quick. My evil side would be more like, let's just relax today. I'm not going to do anything that anybody tells me. I'm just going to relax and enjoy it. And sometimes I listen to that side, because that's part of self-care. It relates to self-care for me, as long as I am getting my work done. I think evil does have a place in this world that isn't necessarily painful and destructive for everyone. And I say the neutral side is the side that keeps those two sides together. It's the synapses in the mind, and those two good and evil, they can get along. And I thought of that because recently, this week, I have been thinking of what were my favorite roles to play when I was an actor. Mainly training in acting, although my first professional role was one of my favorite. And I started relating them to my name. So my first favorite role was Sebastian from Shakespeare's Twelfth Night. And that's a romantic character. It's a romantic comedy. It's a real fun play. And I first played him in, I think, 7th grade, and it was a lot of fun. I was a kid back then, I didn't think much of it, but it was a lot of fun. And then I finally got to get into the English Speaking Union's National Shakespeare Competition, and I brought that character into the competition, Sebastian from Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, and I started exploring myself with it. This sort of romantic, comedic side, but also this side of amazement and awe. If you ever know the monologue, it's this is the air, that is the glorious sun, this pearl she gave me, I do feel it and see it yet, this madness. And he keeps on talking about this madness, is this even real? Did this even happen? And I won't spoil the play for you by telling you about it, but it's a lot of fun. There's several different emotions in there you can go to. You can say it quick, you can say it slow. It's a lot of fun. So I brought that into the English Speaking Union's the English Speaking Union's National Shakespeare Competition, and I won the Massachusetts branch. I only got 21st nationally in New York when we went to New York and performed at, but I won the Massachusetts branch and I felt so good. I walked in there with Sebastian and Sonnet 23, another Shakespeare's work, and I went through the first bit. I felt so good, and then there was the second one, and I got through that too, and then it was the finals, and we'd all said our monologues, and they said, okay, now we're going to give you all a cold reading. And those of you who aren't actors right now can understand now that a cold reading is something you've never read before. They're just going to give you the script, and you have to go off it and improvise and do whatever you can. And thankfully for me, they gave me a good monologue for me to do. It was Mark Antony from Cleopatra, Shakespeare. And he was just bellowing out, some swears and stuff, and just talking about betrayal, and it's this very manly, angry role, and it was a lot of fun. And so I won with that, and so that was a good feeling. And then I took that monologue, Sebastian, and I took it to college auditions, and with that I got into UConn, I got into Emerson, I got into Boston University, I got into SUNY Purchase, and I got into Montclair State University, New Jersey. Montclair State, I think it's called that. And so that is my favorite role. So I put that as my first name because my first is what everybody calls me. It's what I've learned to reply to over the years. And I really like the feeling I have for my name these days. So I put Sebastian with John. There we go. My second name is Joshua, and I played this role called Vinny in a freshman year of high school. It was my first role in CRLS's theater program, and it was a really relaxed character. Just like, I'm just gonna enjoy this and have fun. I'm a janitor, but I'm flirting with the ladies and just making jokes, and it wasn't a main role. I didn't have a monologue, but it was probably my second favorite role of all time. I just felt laid back, and when I think about it, I just feel nice and healthy and happy, So I put that with Joshua. And I could go on a little bit about the name Joshua. I have sort of a character in my mind called Joshua, and it's very chaotic, but also having fun all the time, and just wants to relax, and maybe has ADHD at the same time, but it relates really well with Vinny. William was my grandfather's name, and my third favorite role was Big Al, my first professional role, and he was in a play called Boys of Winter, and it was a tragic play, but I really enjoyed it. It was my first year out of school in general, and I got cast. It was so cool. So I really enjoyed that. So I put that with William because my grandfather, he was in the Army. Big Al, he goes to the Vietnam War. I'm not promoting war, but I could just relate those two. In fact, I'm very much against war. We'll see how that goes in the future. I think we have a chance to stop war and have world peace, so that's good. And my last favorite role, my fourth favorite role, was Jason from the play Medea. And I related that to my last name, Oxenford, because for me, I get this image when I say Oxenford of a kind of very powerful name, kind of a spades, a strong, and Jason, this character from Medea, he I had this awesome monologue where it was my second year as sophomore. I was one of the few sophomore kids in that school who ever got a main role. And I went out and I started bellowing to Zeus, this Grecian monologue of just, well, it was in English, but I was, speaking out to Zeus, and it made me feel so powerful, and I related that to my last name. And so with that, good and evil, Jason, that role, there were a lot of evil things that happened. But at the same time, I got that monologue, which helped me feel really good about myself. And then Sebastian is very good, but there's, I don't know, there wasn't that amount of power in it. It was smart, it was witty, it was romantic, but it wasn't strong, And so I think there's ways for these two sides to get together. Next on my list, oh yeah. And I was just thinking, often I'm diagnosed with schizophrenia, so often I'll be talking to someone or viewing a video or listening, and I'll hear alternative conversations going on in my mind. And often I'll be having two conversations with someone at once. So first I'll hear them talking, and then second I'll hear my schizophrenic side starting a conversation and asking questions. But I view it as the subconscious, and I was watching this. If you ever know the Garza show, it's from one of the guitarists in a deathcore band called Suicide Silence. The first time I saw that band, I thought, Suicide Silence? I don't want to check that out. I didn't like the name. But now I think maybe, after doing some training at work through that helped us talk to people who may be considering suicide. One of the things in there is starting the question is probably not going to make that person feel like they actually should do it. Actually asking someone, are you considering suicide, will actually help them start that conversation to get out of it. So now I see that band name, and there's a lot of band names I've had issues with this, but I see Suicide Silence, I see that, and I think that's getting that word out there. That's some people who may have been through it before, who are making some awesome riffs and some good music and some they're doing something with themselves and they enjoy it. But it's the Garza show. I think it's a podcast, but it was on YouTube. I didn't catch it live, but it was recorded, and it was Zakk Wylde. And if you don't know Zakk Wylde, you really should. I don't know where you've been, but Zakk Wylde plays for Black Label Society. He played for Ozzy Osbourne. What other? He's playing Dimebag Darrell, rest in peace. Dimebag Darrell's role in Pantera. I think the drummer from Anthrax is playing there too. Rest in peace, Dimebag and Vinny. But yeah, this guy, I was watching him talk, and I was just listening to him and Garza just talk, and I just felt relaxed. I started enjoying it, and I was trying to find sort of permutations of myself in the moment through playing cards. And I just, I thought, what if I can relax, and who do I really want to be? Not what's humble, not what's logical, but who do I want to be? I said, I want to be King of Hearts on my cards. I'm going to be King of Hearts today. And I think, well, what am I going to do if I start feeling triggered by my symptoms? What if I start getting negative thoughts and I start getting fears and uncomfortabilities? And so I drew a card at the 8 of clubs, which sort of, clubs for me is spiritual. And for me, I relate to my symptoms as spirituality. And an 8 is sort of that, top of the 8 is positive, like a 9, and the bottom of the 8 is maybe negative. I'm not saying, 9 is positive and 6 is not positive, but it's these two different sides. And I was just thinking, what if I could maintain this satisfaction of being King of Hearts right now, whatever the moment brings? And from that, I thought, what if I could really believe all these side conversations are happening, and I can talk to him like it was really going on, and it just gave me a lot of peace. And I'm not saying it was real, and I'm not saying it wasn't my symptoms, but I'm saying it gave me a lot of peace just entertaining that theory. And I wrote something down. I wrote, be the therapist of the moment. I'm taking a counseling class right now. I'm going for human services at Bunker Hill, and I'm taking a counseling class that's sort of based on therapy, and we're reading a lot of chapters based on therapy. And I was just thinking, what if I could just sit there in any conversation, maybe not even talking, maybe viewing a conversation or being a part of a conversation in some way, and just relax and try to make sure that this moment is as beautiful as possible. Just make good vibes and nothing awkward, nothing negative, nothing bad. Just help the conversation, help the moment, and I don't know if you've heard this before, but now is the moment. There is no future, there is no past, it is only now. And of course, there is the past and there will be the future, but it's this concept of exist in the now, in the now. So I was just thinking, if everybody could be there for each other in the moment, then it'll be a lot of good conversations. Often I'll be having a conversation with someone and I'll have to look away because I have a really disturbing thought, or I'll be talking to someone and I'll start to get afraid. Did they hear this disturbing thought in my mind? And it'll really mess with my conversation, my human interaction. So now I'm practicing just being there, being the therapist at the moment, meditating and just listening, eye contact, ignoring the negative thoughts that come through my mind, enjoying the positive thoughts that come through my mind, and just sitting there and listening and having a good conversation and seeing what will happen, because I've never really tried it before since I started getting symptomatic. I got really used to just stopping a conversation, just not looking, just being disturbed all the time and worrying, and it didn't go away. So I spent a good chunk of years just worrying, and now I'm realizing it's not going to go away. It is getting a little bit better, but I think it's getting better because I'm able to just deal with it, just be there with it and then let it go, So that was the thought that I got when I was talking to Zach Wild the other day on the Garza podcast show. And I'm taking this yoga class as well. It's a yoga elective. We are reading Survivors on the Yoga Mat, and it's talking about people who have been through a lot of trauma, who find therapeutic therapy in yoga. And I wanted to read page 87. I wanted to read just a chapter here, and we got enough time for me to finish it, I'm pretty sure. And this one is called The Devil and the Muse. In yoga philosophy, one way that the 2 steps forward and 1 step back nature of healing is explained with the concept of samskaras. Samskaras are old patterns that are etched into our consciousness, ruts in our thinking and feeling that we can easily fall back into until we create new patterns of thought and action. Yoga philosopher Steve Cope describes samskaras as little tracks, little vectors, little ruts in the muddy road. The next time a car travels that road, these muddy ruts will have hardened into permanent fixtures, and the car wheels will want to drive into them. Indeed, it's easier to steer right into them than to try to avoid them. So this is talking about creating mental patterns in your mind when you're not living a life of change, when you're not living a life of progress, when you're living a life of stagnation. Sometimes, I know it's funny because I complain about having to work a job and go to school all the time. But the truth is, when I am going to school and I am going to work, I'm more creative in my off time. And it's proven because I spent a few years after I graduated from Bunker Hill with associates in theater. I just relaxed. I went to work, but for the rest of it, I just relaxed. And I got some stuff done with my music, and I kind of worked out, but I really wasn't doing anything. And now, since I started going back to school again and still involved with work, I'm more motivated to do stuff. So when I wasn't going to school so much, I created corridors in my mind that I got used to it. And some of them weren't positive or progressive. Some of them were fine, but they didn't get me anywhere. They were just sort of normal thoughts that weren't really doing anything for me. And some of them were negative. Some of them were bad habits, laziness, gluttony, things like that. So this first paragraph is talking about creating new paths by living a life of action, living a life of activity, living a life of health and enjoyment, getting involved in things. If you have time, go out and do that meetup group, or go and, meet some new people in an activity you like, play your music, practice your acting, your monologues, follow your dreams and your goals, and if you can do that without having to be pushed to do that, you're on a very good path, because that means you're self-motivating to do some good things in your life. So that's that paragraph. Next one. The process of breaking old samskaras isn't an easy one. Most obviously for survivors, since trauma was its way of leaving deep tracks of repressed memory in our consciousness. So people with trauma, that trauma is in their mind, it's in their memory, that feeling, those feelings are still there. And I do believe that people can heal from trauma, and I think that's what this book is all about. But I must say, there's some pain in there, and I think it's important to be able to realize that through healing, you can overcome that pain and live a full and enjoyable life as well. All right, I'll go to the next paragraph here. Let me read these two here. Several years later, Tia was diagnosed with lupus, a disease that was by then too familiar to her. The limits of Western medicine for treating it cleared to her as well. The combination of having left high-stress job, losing a love to cancer, needing to separate herself from her family, and facing her own diagnosis propelled her on a quest to seek healing outside of the Western model. So that's basically describes that. And then here, I love this paragraph here. Her increasing devotion to yoga helped keep the lupus at bay. When she left France for India, she had lesions on her face and body. Those lesions cleared up almost completely. Almost all of the other major symptoms of the disease, including pain, exhaustion, internal lesions, general weakness, and susceptibility to illness, either left her or it never manifested. So I was moved by that paragraph in that story, in this story, because that is it. It's possible, man, and woman and individual. It's possible to heal yourself, through meditation, through maintaining positive thoughts in your mind, moving, getting out of those grooves and creating new paths for health and healing, actual healing. We don't, you might get diagnosed with something at the doctors, but it doesn't mean you can't heal, even if they say they don't have anything for it, or there are other ways to heal if the Western model isn't working for you. If it is, that's great, but that is not the only way of healing, of recovery from an illness. So I just wanted to read that to you because I'm noticing, not all the time, but on a rare occasion, I'm noticing things are progressing here a little bit. There's conversation going on with people these days. I think in the mind. I might have to start putting this episode up on 18 plus as well. I don't want to say anything that could be dangerous for someone's mentality, but I do believe there is progression going on. I'll just say it very simply. I believe there's progression going on a spiritual level that could be making this world a much better place. And it's possible for us to make leaps and bounds in our own evolution pretty soon if we don't mess things up, like kicking people out of their homes, killing people, promoting war. It's even you can make it work even in your life. Just be social, give good vibes. Notice how people are reacting. And try not to create conflict. Try to just give, good peaceful energy, and I think that's going to make this world a better place. Each one of us, every vote counts. Each one of us can change this world on our level. And once we all do that, this world will change, leaps and bounds. So I'll review this before I put it up on YouTube. I hope I don't have to put it as 18 plus. I'll see what I said. But I am putting videos up on YouTube now, and they're a little bit edited, so it may not be exactly what you saw. But if you want to check it out, the station is AHAH. That's AHA, AHAH plus Metal Meditations. That's my music project. I may change that name at some point, or abbreviate Metal Meditations and just put A Human Amongst Humans on that, because that's what the page is really for. But yeah, we got about 45 seconds left, and I'll have some time to look this over. Oh, I got a story. I could talk about that next week. A story about how I eventually was able to upload the last video. I figured it out, but it took me about 30 minutes to an hour of stress. But yeah, 30 seconds left. I really appreciate being accepted on this show, and very therapeutic for me. Glad to be accepted here. And thanks to the good people at CCTV, and thanks to the good people of Cambridge, Massachusetts, United States, and the world. Okay, see you later.